Welcome back, my YouTube subscribers. In today's video, I've been thinking about it a few days, and I want to tell a story about one of the guys that when I got into the wrestling, independent wrestling scene down here in the state of Georgia, one of the guys that, took me under his wing, and I spent many years in the same locker room with this guy. And he's phenomenal person, good wrestler, just one of the best people that I've had the privilege of knowing. And it really is a privilege, because you never meet genuine people like this very often in life, especially nowadays. And this guy's name is Joe Cooper, even though I never call him that. I call him Tommy Sawyer. Whether he was the myth, the redneck, he was always Tommy Sawyer to me. And I'd also like to give a big shout out to Teresa Cooper for giving me permission to make this video, who is also another genuine person with a great heart. Love her to death. Sorry we don't keep in contact much, but just know there's a special place for you always. But I first met Tommy probably around 2006, 2007. Might have been earlier. Not real sure, but it don't matter. He was working SVW, Savannah Valley Wrestling, at the old Gray Bell Auction House in Royston, Georgia. And he was teaming with Bad Jack, and they were the tag team Old School, and they were a great tag team. Their finisher was a high-low, and they just had such a great chemistry. Both had a charisma like no other, and I enjoyed working with both those guys. As I started with SVW, like I said, it was either 06 or 07. My first match was against a guy named Enigma. Squash match, maybe 3 minutes. But I tried doing a little too much. And as soon as I came back out the curtain, or on the other side of the curtain into the locker room, the first person there to critique what I had just done, because I believe I was opening match that night, was Tommy. And I'll never forget, he said, "Biggin, you ain't got to move for the little guy. The little guy got to move for you, especially when you're working heel." And that's always stuck to me. But then I didn't always take that advice, because even though I am a bigger guy, I like moving around. I liked Bam Bam Bigelow, Big Van Vader, Bam Bam Gordy. Those guys. Big guys who can move around. I like that. Well, my very first tag match, it was a 6-man match. It was me and Old School, Bad Jack and Tommy, against Jekyll, and I believe it was Instant Replay, the team of Kevin Blue and Chris Spectra. I believe that's who we were facing. And I was lost. I was green as a pepper tree, and Tommy had to lead me the whole way during that match. Go on. A little while later, we were at SWA And I've gotten a little bit better, not by much, but I was starting to get it. I was starting to make sense of everything. Then at SWA, I became part of a faction called La Cosa Nostra with John Hogan and Alexander Phoenix, two great guys. I actually trained with Alexander Phoenix when I first started out at Ultimate Christian Wrestling in Winterville, Georgia, under the tutelage of Colt Derringer and Rob Adonis and Todd Zane. Great guys. That's also where Xavier Woods broke out, but that's another story for another day. We're going to get back to Tommy. The ongoing rib with me and Tommy has always been, my nose itch, the ongoing rib with me and him is they gave us like a minute to do a match. And I told Tommy, I said, I don't want to do that. He said, well, what you got? I said, let's make it as short as possible. And he said, okay. So we done a backstage promo spot that distracted me, where Alexander Phoenix was tied up by a Billy Star, which led to the distraction. Bell rang. I throw a clothesline at Tommy. He ducks. Boom, super kick. 1, 2, 3. I think bell to bell, 20 seconds. 15, 20 seconds. And me and him always made the rib that was probably the best match me and him both ever had, because we didn't get blown up during that match. Then another rib was Tommy and his shoot job, as we call it. He was a truck driver. He drove log trucks. And when he was doing his redneck gimmick, he would come straight into the building wearing his blue jeans just as he got off of work. And 9 out of 10, he left his wallet in his jeans every time. So as soon as we would notice it, if you were wrestling Tommy, and usually Teresa, his wife, who gave me permission to do this video, hope you're getting a good laugh out of all this. She was usually the runner. She would grab our gear that we took off during our entrance, bandanas, jackets, you get the point, and she would take it to the back for us. Well, we would always come up with spots to somehow, get Tommy's wallet out of his pants and give it to Teresa. And there's been a couple times he would leave his Marlboros in his pants too. But he never forgot his Mountain Dews. So that was the best part. And this is hard. I didn't want to do this. I'm having fun telling these stories about Tommy, but I didn't want to do it. But Tommy was a very creative guy, and toward the end of my active days, my very last tag match was with my best friend Jake Sanders, and we were the tag team champions, and we were wrestling the Rednecks, Tommy Sawyer and Billy Star. And I'll never forget this. Tommy was like, how do we do this? Because I was white hot. The Mafia was white hot, but so were the Rednecks. We wound up having Andy get pinned, who was the third member of the Mafia, along with we had Tow Truck, Andy, Chief, and some other guy. Well, Andy was our stooge. He was there to get his butt whooped. That's all he was there for. That was his role. Well, Tommy pinned Andy. They won the titles. But the spot that sticks out the most to me is I said, "Hey Tommy," I said, "do you think you could do a crossbody off the top rope onto us? Because I'd get the crowd hype." And even though he trusted me, we'd worked many times before this, he says, "As long as y'all catch me." And Teresa was back there when we were going over it, and she looked at me. She says, "This is your idea, and you better catch him." I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'll play center field. I got him." And I did. The only thing that touched the ground that night when Tommy hit was his toes when he was getting up to go in the ring to get the pop from the crowd. And that was, I think of February, April of 2020 was that match. Then that was the last time I worked him. But I'll tell you a fun match that I remember the most, because he got to work this match with his youngest son Josh, who was going by Skipper, which was a knock from Tommy's Mr. Black manager gimmick. Skipper got in there with me, and I was down, and Tommy came in there on a hot tag. He tagged in Skipper, and Skipper started doing these drop kicks where he would bounce off the bottom rope and drop kick me, and Tommy was just screaming, "Kick his ass, kick his ass," which is very unlike Tommy. That just made me laugh thinking about it. Unfortunately, July of 2020, we lost him. It was after a show. He had a heart attack. I get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning from Jake Sanders. He said, "Hey man, we lost Tommy." You know, me being me, I said, "What the hell do you mean?" And he told me Tommy passed. And to tell you that it hurt is an understatement, because you know, Tommy was always there for me. If I had any question about a spot in a match, a finish, I could always go ask him. And it hurt. Then the day of his remembrance of life, the visitation, I go in there. I cried. I couldn't believe it. It was all too real. I know I skipped around a lot, probably rambled, probably didn't make a whole lot of sense. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, in this business of pro wrestling, whether you know somebody who does it or you've done it yourself, the guys in the locker room become your family. We refer to each other as brother a lot, because that's what we become. And I've got 3 brothers that are my blood. I'll do anything for them. But when I got into wrestling and I met all these other people, I gained other brothers. And Tommy was a damn good brother. He'd do anything for anybody. And I'm gonna share this on my Facebook. Hopefully some of the people who knew Tommy watched this, and they'll leave a comment on their favorite Tommy Sawyer moment. And I hope y'all enjoy this video. I'm gonna end it now. It's a little bit longer than what I wanted to go. I'm gonna get back to work. Love you, Tommy.